We hear many ghost ship stories that are considered legends or something you would see out of a movie. But this ghost ship story that I will be talking about today is very true and very strange. Today we're going to look at the ship that sent out a distress call, and when help arrived, they would find that the entire crew of the ship mysteriously perished, and how they were found seems to be the famously known question. What really happened? Hi, I'm Zach and welcome to Rooted Expeditions. If you're a fan of the abandoned, historical, and strange locations, then you're in the right place. Hit that thumbs up and let's get started on today's history. In 1947, many ships were traveling through the Malacca Strait, which was a part of the Indian Ocean and is near Malaysia. This was a common trade route that many ships would take, and this was just another day for the ships traveling back and forth, transporting their goods. That's until many ships in the area claimed to have picked up a series of these strange distress signals that came through a telegraph. Now, at this time, it was real common for ships to have telegraphs, which would allow them to transmit information by using Morse code over a long distance. The signal that came in read, "All officers, including captain, are dead. Lying in chart room and bridge. Possible whole crew dead." Then after that, communication would follow with a few bursts of Morse code that couldn't really be understood. And then as this happened, the only message that they were able to understand was, "I died." Then there was silence. This shocking distress call was picked up by two American ships as well as a British and Dutch listening post on the shore. They were able to triangulate where this strange distress signal was coming from. As this was all going on, an American merchant ship called the Silver Star, which happened to be the closest ship to where this signal was coming from. And with wasting no time, the captain and the crew of the Silver Star changed their direction and set course to where this distress call was coming from. Within hours, they were able to catch sight of the ship that called out for help. As they got close, they could see that the name of the ship, and it read as the Orang Medan, which was said to be the Dutch merchant ship making its way to drop off goods. They could see that the ship rising and falling in the choppy waters of the Malacca Strait. The closer they got to the ship, they saw that something was wrong. In fact, something was very wrong. They couldn't see anyone on the ship. Normally, you would see crew members moving around the ship performing different tasks, but there was just no movement, as if everyone just vanished, leaving an unmanned ship, or a ghost ship as some would call it. When the Americans got close enough to the ship, they saw that there was no sign of life on board. So the captain decided to tow the ship back, so the crew gathered up the tow lines and were getting ready to hook up the ship and tow it back to land. But the captain decided to send some crew members on board the ship and take a look around before hooking up the tow lines and heading back. So the captain gathered up the crew and formed a boarding party to go upon that ship and have a look around to see what's going on. But they were not going to be prepared for the nightmare they would encounter once they stepped on that ship. Once the crew boarded the ghost ship, they quickly realized that the distress call was very real. Once they stepped on board the ship, they saw that the deck was scattered with these dead bodies everywhere. And the strange thing was that all the crew members that were dead on the ship had their eyes wide open and their arms stretched out as that they were trying to protect themselves from some unseen enemy. Even the dog that was on the ship was found dead, and again, it looked like it was growling at something unseen. The crew of the Silver Star would continue searching the ship to see if there was any survivors or if anyone was alive to tell them what happened. They ended up finding the captain, but he was dead along with the other officers on that ship. And just like the other men on the deck, their eyes were wide open and they looked to be in terror from some unseen enemy. The crew would continue searching and would head down to the lower part of this huge ship, and there they would find many more dead bodies. It just seemed like everyone just died for no reason. What stood out the most about all of these dead bodies they were finding on the ship is that there was no signs to what could have happened to them or what killed them. There were no bullet wounds, there was no blood, no physical markings to show a cause of death. They just were all found in a state of terror with their eyes wide open. When the boarding party were on the lower part of the ship, they could feel a very strange and cold chill, which was very unusual as the outside temp was about 110 degrees, and there was no way that something inside that ship at that time would have caused this cold temperatures. So what was it? What was the cold? What made it cold? I don't know much about ships. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Okay, moving on. They were not able to find reason or cause to what happened, and there didn't seem to be any foul play. The ship was not damaged, and there was no sign to why everyone on the ship were dead. After the boarding party got back onto the ship of the Silver Star, they relayed what happened to the captain. That rhymed. What happened to the captain? Okay, focus. So the captain decided to just tow the ship in and let the authorities handle the situation. So the crew would start to tether up this Dutch ship to the Silver Star so that they could tow it back to land. But as soon as the crew attached the tow lines to the Dutch ship, they noticed smoke pouring out from one of the lower parts of the deck in the middle of this ship. And immediately they cut the tow lines and jumped back on board the Silver Star, not knowing what was going to happen. And good thing they did. And just as all the crew members who were hooking up the tow lines were back on board the Silver Star, the Dutch ship exploded. The force of the ship's explosion was so great that it actually lifted the ship out of the water, and when it landed back down, it began to sink very quickly. The crew looking at each other in shock and relief that no one was hurt or even injured from this explosion. They would say that they were very lucky, because if they didn't cut the tow lines in time, they would have been dragged down to the bottom of the ocean with that ship. Now here's the twist and argument that you will have to decide what really happened. There is really no records of the SS Orangutan ever existing, but the Silver Star was a real ship and was in the area that day when the stress signal was sent out. But with no records of the ship ever existing, it makes it real hard to prove this ever happened. Another theory is that it was done by extraterrestrials or UFOs, since there have been many claims by ships throughout the years of UFOs flying in and out of the ocean, even though there has never really been a case like this before. Could this be the first case? It's also been said that the Dutch ship was smuggling nerve gas or even more dangerous biological weapons that was created by a Japanese scientist. And when the ship was cruising across the sea, and with the rough waters causing the containers to bounce around and cause them to maybe leak or come out among the ship, killing the crew members and its captain. But if this is the case, this could be what caused the ship to explode in the first place, and could be why there is no records of this ship ever existing, and could be to cover up their tracks of this deadly and unknown biological weapon that they had aboard this ship. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you think about this whole story. Here's a little bit of history for you. Please hit that thumbs up. Peace, I love you, and as always, God bless.